Project 7 of the textbook, we look at JavaScript behaviors, and I cover the advantages of JavaScript in the readable slides. A script is a set of instructions that performs actions in response to an event, and JavaScript scripts can be embedded directly into an HTML page using script tags. Dreamweaver includes several tools for adding this kind of interactivity into an HTML page without you having to write code. One of the main advantages using JavaScript is that you can define behaviors that change an image in response to an event. And when you do that, the browser does not have to download the image files so that the scripts can be activated and avoid any delay in the image download when you preload the required images using the behaviors in the JavaScript. So they are ready and waiting as soon as the page loads. Let's begin stage 1. I have added my files from Against the Clock in Project 7, the JavaScript, the vintage car JavaScript site, and you want to download the cars files and set up your site in a folder named cars in your root folder. Once you've done that, you can open your index page and select Live View. In CSS Designer, I'm going to select All and click your style sheet. We can look at the styles that we have, and in your selectors, you should have body, header, a nav, a main content, and sidebar ID selectors. So our header contains our client logo. You see the header tag, and we have a div with a nav element with our navigation content. We're going to define additional behaviors that change the content of these specific elements depending on which link the user clicks in the nav div. You need to first define ID attributes for any element that's going to be affected by the behavior. I'm going to select the split button so we can take a look at the code. If you select the home paragraph, and I'm going to select the P tag in the tag selector, and in CSS Designer you can create a new selector called Home Link, which I've already done here. And go ahead and add that selector. Make sure that your style sheet is selected in your source menu, and then add some more ID attributes in the nav div and in the main content div. Add an ID selector called Restoration Link. When you select Restoration Services, Swap Meets, add an ID selector named Swap Meets Link. For Charity Cruises, add a selector named Charity Link. And then in the main content div, where it says New England's largest classic owners group, select H1, ID selector, and then for the next paragraph, name it with an ID description. And so you can use the element text here, and then you can also add it as selectors in the CSS Designer panel. So all of these elements need to have a defined ID attribute in order for us to give them JQuery behaviors. We're going to close the code pane now because we won't be needing them since we'll be using the behaviors that Dreamweaver provides. Go ahead and choose File, Save All. I'm going to click the Body Tag selector, switch to Design View, and go to Window, Behaviors to open that panel, and click on the Body Tag. We're going to add a behavior to this body tag so you can see everything that has been assigned. The body tag is selected. Click on the Add Behavior button and choose Preload Images. So Dreamweaver provides several common JavaScript behaviors in the menu. Click on the Browse button and go to the Images folder and look for car 1 to select that. And then click on the Add button again and browse to add car 2. Then add car 3 and car 4. So now we have preloaded 4 images, and we're going to click on OK to define the behavior. Click on the split view, and you can see now that some code has been added for the preloaded images after the body tag. It says that on load, when you go to the site, these preloaded images are going to be automatically loaded. So there's no delay time. We can go ahead and turn the code off, and you can save the file. So the trigger that will create a behavior is called the event, and then the behavior that actually occurs from the triggering is called the action. So an event will trigger an action. We're going to place our cursor in the Charity Cruises paragraph in the nav div, and I'm going to select the P selector to select that entire paragraph. And then using your behaviors panel, I'm going to add, you can select change property. And you could also go to the options menu and go to edit behavior, and that will bring up the change property panel as well. You want to select the div element, element ID of div nav, select the background image, and then under new value, you can select the car 4 JPEG image, and you want to make sure that you type in the entire path beginning with URL, in the images folder, and the name of the image. And you can also look for that in the code. So if I go back to split view, you can go to the code in the style sheet and look at the CSS style sheet code, and in the navigation element you can see the URL with the image inside the parentheses. Dreamweaver does not include the HTML5 structural elements, and so that's why we used a named div element instead of the HTML5 nav element. In the behaviors panel with Charity Cruises paragraph selected, we want to choose the mouse down behavior for the event. So after you've changed the property by adding the car 4 image and clicked on OK, then you can change it to mouse down. So it's going to be default on mouse over, so you can just select mouse down. Turn on live view, and then you can test the Charity Cruises by clicking on it, and now you can see it switches to the car 4 image. We can go back to design view and turn off the code. And using the same steps that we just went through, define the behaviors for the 3 other paragraphs in your nav. So your restoration services, swap meets, and Charity Cruises. You want the triggering event to be mouse down, and then you want the background images. For home, it's going to remain the same with car 1, restoration services be car 2, and swap meets car 3. So for each one, you select the P tag by changing the property. You can see if I've already selected the corresponding image, and make sure you switch it to mouse down. So you will only have at this point, there's car 2, the change property and mouse down trigger, and the other ones we will do later in this tutorial. After you've done that, go ahead and save. So you just use JavaScript behaviors to change the background image CSS property of the specific div element. So here would be the paragraph div for the nav element. When you use JavaScript to change the actual content of a page, you're effectively changing the page without reloading the HTML. Go ahead and place your cursor in the Charity Cruises paragraph by selecting the paragraph tag selector. And in the behaviors panel, now you can click the add behavior button and choose set text, and then set text of container. And this behavior changes the text that appears in any container tag. So we can select which tag we want to set the text to. Select H1 and in the new HTML type in Charity Cruises. And I've already done that. I'm going to click on that so you can see. So in the H1 container, the new HTML text is Charity Cruises. And again, switch to mouse down and click on OK to define the behavior. So again, we're defining the event on the left side. Open up in your resources folder the content main HTML page and select and copy the text after the Charity Cruises heading. So just copy and paste that paragraph and Command C and then switch back over to the index page. Make sure your paragraph is selected for Charity Cruises and then click on the Add Behavior panel. Choose the Set Text of Container menu again. And then in the container selection, choose P description and then paste that new text into the new HTML. So see if I've done that here. The next one, P description, and change that event to mouse down. So now you should have 3 events, the change property and 2 set text of containers. So the first one is the heading, Charity Cruises, and the second one is the paragraph or P tag description with that paragraph pasted in. You want to do the same thing for these other paragraph links in the nav bar. Make sure you select the P tag and then you want to set the text of container for the heading and type in swap meets. And for the P description, copy and paste the paragraph in the content main file after swap meets. Make sure you change to mouse down. So here I've already done that for restoration services as well as the home. When you switch to live view, you can test these behaviors. When I click on restoration services, I have the new background image and text, swap meets, and Charity Cruises. Select the home paragraph using the P tag. And then in the properties panel, I'm going to type in the hashtag or number symbol in the link field. So this hashtag or number symbol creates a link without defining a specific destination, so that when the user mouses over these paragraphs in the navigation, it will give them a link symbol so that it will act as a link, since these are not actual links, but that way the user knows that there is an action that will occur when they trigger these events. So go ahead and add that symbol to each one of these paragraphs. In CSS Designer, select the style sheet and add a selector called Nav A, which I've done here. And so in this Nav A selector, we've added that symbol to the link field. In the Properties panel, we can also define a text color of white using the swatches and selecting the FFF color. And then for text decoration, select None. When we switch to live view, you can see that pointer is now showing me that these are links. So if I click on it, it's going to trigger an action. So go back to design view. You can save and we will continue with stage